Hi guys, so this is where you're going to turn on your subtitles for the video. And if you want to join my membership, you can get free access to all my PDFs. And I also like to show you just a few examples of what I sell in my merch shop. I appreciate your support, and back to the video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to make this little Christmas wreath. This is only a 9-inch foam ring that you get at Michael's. That's all that's inside this. So it's just a little wreath. It's a floral foam, in case you're wondering, but I got it at Michael's. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm not doing the green and the pink for colors. I'm actually going to be doing this color of green, which is Ivy, from Craftsmart, I believe. And this here is Tomato. It's a really gorgeous red. And it's from Craftsmart, I believe. Let me just check my tag. Yeah, Craftsmart. Both Craftsmart. I like Craftsmart. So, get your colors. Get your supplies. Get your 4.5mm hook, because that's what we're using. And let's jump right into this. So the lettering is done with Tapestry Crochet. So we're going to crochet the letters on. You're going to notice, so I designed this, and actually it's quite difficult. I had to do it multiple times because one of these, I don't remember which one, is done upside down. And then this one's right side up. So you're going to notice one word's going to be upside down, one word's going to be right side up. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So if you're using my PDF, you're going to notice that the red is going to be in brackets with the letter R, and that means that's when you use your red if you're using my PDF to do this. So we start with green, or whatever color you're using, and we make a slip knot. We're going to chain 17. So that's my 17. So we're building it this way, not long ways. That's how I did the letters. So I just want you to do 16 single crochets back to the top. So that's my 16 single crochets. We did a chain of 17, but I had the 17th hook was still on my, like this, was still on my hook. So you had 16 working chains. You're going to chain one and turn your work. So we're going to incorporate the red, and we're at the back of our work, so I'll show you what to do with that. So we're going to do 9 single crochets to start with the green. This is my 9th stitch. Because I'm at the back of my work, I'm going to bring this around to the back, and I'm going to hold it with my thumb, and I'm going to bring in the red. So I'm going to finish that stitch with red because that's going to be my next stitch. So then this little straggler just gets brought back to the back as well. These stragglers aren't going to matter because it's being sewn on a wreath. So now with the red, I want you to do 2 single crochets. And on the second one, you're going to bring your red over. You're going to pull up your green. You're going to finish that second stitch with your green. And with your green, you're going to do 5 single crochets. Chain 1 and turn your work. It's going to be 5 single crochets. So on your 5th stitch, so we're at the front now, so we can just drop our work and grab our red. Finish that 5th stitch with your red. Make sure you pull down on your green. So with our red, we're going to do 3 single crochets. Try to keep everything nice and loose. So on that 3rd stitch, you're going to go back to your green, snug down on your red a little bit. And with your green, you're going to do 8 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. So this is it's going to be a 2-parter because we're going to do the actual tapestry crochet first, and then in the next chapter we'll do the holly, the snowman, the candy cane, and the gift. So round 4, I want you to do 5 single crochets. That's my 5th stitch. So I'm going to bring my green over. I'm going to grab my red. I'm going to finish that with my red. And with my red, I'm going to do 5 single crochets. That's my 5th stitch, so because I'm at the back, I'm going to bring my thing to the back. I'm going to finish that with green, and then I'm going to do 6 single crochets with green. Chain 1, turn your work. So now I want you to do 7 single crochets. We're on round 5. That's my 7th stitch. I'm going to finish it with my red. And with red, I'm going to do 4 single crochets. That's my 4th stitch. I'm going to finish it with green. And I'm going to do 5 single crochets to finish the row. Now, if you're a tight crocheter, I implore you to please just kind of try to loosen up on your... Oh my gosh, I need a drink. Coffee. I made the mistake of going outside to take a picture of this wreath, and allergies got me. So round 6, we're going to do 8 single crochets. That's my 8th stitch. I'm at the back, so I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to finish that with my red. And with my red, I'm going to do 3 single crochets. I'm going to bring my red over. I'm going to finish my 3rd single crochet with my green. And I'm going to do 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. So around 7, you're going to do 5 single crochets. So in your 5th stitch, you're going to go to red, pull down on your green a bit. With your red, you're going to do 2 single crochets, go back to your green, and do 9 single crochets to finish the row. So you should still have a red you're getting into, then your green. So that's your Y. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, not only is it upside down, but it's going to be backwards. Guess I should have mentioned that part. So chain 1, turn your work. So round 8 is just going to be 16 single crochets with your green. So that's your letter Y. Chain 1, turn your work. So next round, 9, we're going to start with 6 single crochets. So this is my 6th stitch. I'm going to finish that with red. With red, I'm going to do 2 single crochets. Finish that with my green. With my green, I'm going to do 2 single crochets. So I'm going to finish that with my red. With my red, I'm going to do 1 single crochet. So finish that with green, and with my green I'm going to do 5 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. Round 10. We're going to do 5 single crochets. So I'm at the back of my work. I'm going to pull this back. I'm going to finish my 5th stitch with my red. And with red, I'm going to do 6 single crochets. So try not to pull this too tight when you pull it over. And you're going to do 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. So round 11, we're going to start with 5 single crochets. With my red, I'm going to do 1 single crochet. With my green, I'm going to do 2 single crochets. No, I don't like that stitch. The stitch was too loose. With my red, I'm going to do 2 single crochets. And with my green, I'm going to do 6 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. These next 2 rows are going to be exactly the same. You're going to do 5 single crochets. So I'm at the back, I'm going to bring my green over. Now if you need to find your stitches, just turn it over. Make sure you're getting into the right stitches. With red, you're going to do 6 single crochets. So turn it over, you'll see a stitch right there in the green. Just make sure this isn't pulled tight. And you want to do 5 single crochets to finish the row with your green. And we're going to do the exact same thing for the next row. Chain 1, turn your work. So for round 14, you're just going to do, with your green, 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches. So chain 1, turn your work. Round 15, so I'm going to start with 6 single crochets. With your red, you're going to do 2 single crochets. With your green, you're going to do 2 single crochets. With your red, you're going to do 1 single crochet. We're doing the exact same letter, by the way. And then you're going to do 5 single crochets to end the row. Chain 1, turn your work. So we're doing another R. Sorry, I just have to pull my red out. It's not feeding properly. So, round 16, you're going to do 5 single crochets. This is my 5th stitch. I'm at the back, so we're going to pull it over. Finish it with red. And with red, you're going to do 6 single crochets. So just roll it over, make sure you're getting into all the right stitches. That's my 6 red. And then you're going to do 5 single crochets with your green. Chain 1, turn your work. Round 17, you're going to do 5 single crochets. That's my 5th single crochet. So I'm going to finish it with my red. With my red, I'm going to do 1 single crochet. And then I'm going to do 2 single crochets with my green. And then 2 single crochets with my red. And then 6 single crochets with my green. Chain 1, turn your work. So the next 2 rows are the same. You're going to do 5 single crochets. And on that 5th stitch, you're going to go to green, or red, and you're going to do 6 single crochets. And 5 single crochets with your green. Chain 1, turn your work, and do the same thing. Chain 1, turn your work. And now with your green, you're going to do 16 single crochets. So chain 1 and turn your work. We're on round 21. We're going to do 5 single crochets. That's my 5th one. With your red, where am I? With your red, you're going to do 1 single crochet. With your green, you're going to do 2 single crochets. With your red, you're going to do 1 single crochet. With your green, you're going to do 1 single crochet. With your red, you're going to do 1 single crochet. We're doing the E in case you're wondering. Well, you're probably not wondering. You know how to spell, pretty sure. And 5 single crochets with your green to the end of the row. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to do 5 single crochets. We're at the back, so you gotta bring your green over. You're gonna do 1 single crochet. With your green, you're gonna do 1 single crochet. With your red, you're going to do 1 single crochet. With your green, you're going to do 2 single crochets. With red, you're going to do 1 single crochet. And 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. The next 2 rows are going to be the same. You're going to do 5 single crochets. And with red, you're going to do 6 single crochets. And 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work, and do the exact same thing all over again. Chain 1, turn your work. And then 16 single crochets to finish the row. Chain one and turn your work. We got one more letter and then we go back and we go to Christmas. So we're going to do 5 single crochets. We're going to stretch across, so just make sure that this is staying loose. You're going to do 6 single crochets with your red. We're going to stretch across with our green, just making sure that everything's loosey-goosey. We're going to do 5 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to do 5 single crochets to start. We're on round 27. That's my 5th stitch. With red, we're going to do 5 single crochets. And then we're going to do 6 single crochets with our green. So the first stitch will start in the red. Chain 1, turn your work. Round 28, we're going to do 8 single crochets with our green. Now we're going to do 1 red, and 7 single crochets with our green to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. Round 29, we're going to do 8 single crochets. That's my 8th stitch. I'm going to do 2 single crochets with my red. And 6 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. Round 30, we're going to do 7 single crochets. We're going to do 1 single crochet, and then we're going to do 8 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. Round 31 is going to be 6 single crochets. With red, you're going to do 5 single crochets. And then you're going to do 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do 5 single crochets. You're going to do 6 single crochets. And then 5 single crochets to finish the row. Oh, I did not do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, I miscounted. And then 5 single crochets to finish the row. Now you're waiting on me. Chain 1, turn your work. So, that's our Merry Christmas. So for the next 12 rows with your green, so cut this red off. For the next 12 rows with green, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches. You can weave this in when you go, and I will see you on the other side. So that's my 12 rows, but I want to be at the back of my project when I start this next round. So one more row of just green. So starting at the back of my project, we're going to do 6 single crochets. So we're starting the word Christmas. That is my 6. I'm going to pull my thing at the back. I'm going to add my red. And I'm going to do 4 single crochets with my red. On my 4th stitch, I'm going to finish it with my green and do 6 single crochets to the end. Chain 1, turn your work. Five single crochets. You're going to do 6 single crochets with the red. And then 5 single crochets to the end. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do 5 single crochets. You're going to do 1 red. You're going to do 4 green. You're going to do 1 red. And you're going to do 5 single crochets back to your marker, and then you're going to go and repeat the same row. Chain 1, turn your work. Now I just want you to do 16 single crochets with your green. So the next 2 rows are going to be the same. We're going to do 5 green, 6 red, 5 green. That's my 5 green. Six red, 5 green. And repeat for second row. Eight single crochets. That's my 8th. 1 red. Oh, don't finish that with that. Finish it with your green. And you're going to do 7 single crochets to the end. Chain one, turn your work. Well, I'm not sure how that happened, but I'm going to have to cut my red. I'm going to have to reattach with my red. Next two rows are going to be the same. They're going to be 5 green, 6 red, 5 green for 2 rows. Six red. Five green. And follow your same colors on the next row. Chain one, turn your work. And, you guessed it, 16 single crochets with just your green. So, these next two rows are going to be the same. We're going to do 5, 6, and 5 again. Chain one, turn your work, and repeat. Alright, those are my 2 rows. So we're going to do 7 single crochets with your green. And with red, we're going to do 1 single crochet, switch to your green. And now we're going to do 2 single crochets, switch to your red, and do 1 single crochet. And then we're going to do 5 single crochet to finish the row. Chain one, turn your work. So your next round, you're going to do 5, 6, and 5 again. You're going to do 5 single crochets. I'm struggling today, man. You know, you just have days. Allergies bothering me. So you're going to do 1 single crochet with your red. You're going to do 2 single crochets with your green. You're going to do 2 single crochets with your red. And then 6 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. And this is where we do 16 single crochets to finish the letter. Basically, that's what it's for. Spacing. So the next letter is the I. So 2 rows of 5 green, 6 red, 5 green. And then that's the I. It's 5 green, 6 red, and 5 green. And repeat. So that's our I. And now we can just do 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches with our green. Our next letter is going to be an S. We're going to start with 5 single crochets. We're going to do 3 red, 2 green, and then 1 red. This is where everything gets nicely tangled. And then 5 green. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do 5 single crochets. One red, 2 green, one red, or sorry, 3 red, and 5 green. Oh my gosh, if I can get a hold of it. 3 red, 5 green. There's going to be 5 single crochets. So that's my 5th single crochet. I'm going to do 1 red. I'm going to do 1 green. Twisty, twisty, twisty. Now I'm going to do 4 red. And then 5 green to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. I'm going to do 5 single crochets. This is my 5th stitch. I'm going to do 4 red. I'm going to do 1 green. One red. And 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. And 16 single crochets with your green. We're going to start with 10 single crochets. That's my 10th stitch. And then I'm going to do 1 single crochet and 5 single crochets to end the row. Chain 1, turn your work. Five single crochets. One red. Ten single crochets. These next 2 rows are going to be the same, and they're 5, 6, and 5. Just like we've been doing. 5 green, 6 red, 5 green. So I want you to do 10 single crochets starting this row. One red, 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. Five single crochets. One red, and then 10 single crochets with your green to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. And then you've got your 16 single crochets with your green. And the letter M. So we're just about done. I want you to do 5 single crochets. Six red, 5 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. Six single crochets with your green. Five single crochets with your red. And 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do 8 single crochets. With red, you're going to do 1 single crochet. And then you're going to do 7 single crochets to the end of the row with your green. You're going to do 8 single crochets to start. You're going to do 2 single crochets with red. The M was hard for me to do. I struggled with this letter. And then 6 single crochets to the end. And I know it's not perfect, but I could not get it perfect. Something I gotta work on. This is my first time doing my own tapestry crochet, so you can still tell what letter or what words it's forming, but I did struggle with this letter. You're going to do 7 single crochets. That's my 7th stitch. I'm running out of yarn. You're going to do 1 red, and then you're going to do 8 single crochets to the end. I'm going to have to add more red. It's going to be 5 single crochets. With red, I want you to do 5 single crochets. And with green, I want you to do 6 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. It's the last round of the M. We're going to do 5, 6, and 5. Chain 1, turn your work. So, the M's not perfect. I cannot get it. But when you stand back and look at the whole thing together, you can tell what it says. So 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches. I'm going to start the A. And I want you to start with 6 single crochets in the green. With red, I want you to do 5 single crochets. And with green, I want you to do 5 single crochets. I want you to do 5 single crochets. I want you to do 6 single crochets with your red. and then 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. So we're going to start this round off with 5 single crochets. I'm going to do 1 red, 2 green, 1 red, and 7 green to finish the row. You're going to do 5, 6, 5. Last round for your A will be 5, 5, 6. Five green, 5 red, and 6 green. And last but not least, your 16 single crochets with your green. We're going to start with 5 single crochets. I'm going to do 3 single crochets. I'm going to do 2 green. One single crochet with red, and then 5 single crochets with green to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do 5 single crochets to start. You're going to do 1 single crochet with red, 2 single crochets with green, 3 single crochets with red, and 5 single crochets with green. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to do 5 single crochets. We're going to do 1 single crochet. We're going to do 1 single crochet. And then with red, we're going to do 4 single crochets. And then 5 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to start with 5 single crochets. We're going to do 4 single crochets with red. We're going to do 1 single crochet with green. One single crochet with red. And 5 single crochets to finish the row. So that is it. We can cut our red off. You can leave a tail, a little bit of a tail, just so it doesn't pull through or anything, but I'm not weaving any of this in just because it's getting sewn to the foam ring. So for the next, oh my gosh, my green's not pulling out now. For the next 11 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my 11 rows. I'm going to fasten off. You're going to need a super duper long sewing tail, because we got to sew this bad boy to the wreath. Mine's probably too long. Mine's always too long, but it's always better to have enough than, you know, run out. So I don't know what you can do with these guys at the back if you've got many of them. I'm just going to simply tie mine in a knot and cut off just so I don't have the long strings. I got nothing to tie that to, so I don't know. I just snip it off just so the strings aren't long and, you know, getting in the way. This guy here, my straggler for where I started my project, I'm just going to weave him across. Everything's sewn together, nothing's really going to happen to it. Alrighty, let's put that out of the way for a minute. Get my wreath. This will be the end of the chapter, because it's the end of the chapter. So you can sew yours on anyway, but this is obviously why one was upside down, So the Merry and then the Christmas. So it all works out to be right side up once you get it on. So there's plenty of room to move it around, so you don't need to actually have it, you don't have to sew it on that way, because you can always just spin it around. I mean, there's plenty of room to sew it on. And I just did a whip stitch. You can do whatever you want if you're a sewer. I'm not a sewer. So, but I just did stitch for stitch, whip stitch. And that is it. And yes, it is very time consuming. And that's why it's the end of the chapter. Because I am not going to do all this with you guys. You're going to do it to yourself. So you don't have to go into the stitch, because obviously you want to make this a little bit snug, right? I don't know how tight you crochet. I don't know anything. So I made it the size that, you know, a decent size, so that you can sew it wherever you want to sew it. But you can still move it around after. So just continue to sew your piece on. I will meet you back in chapter 2 to do the rest of it, the snowman and the whatever. And if you don't want to do any of mine, then I'm sure there's lots of videos out there that you can add different things to, if you just wanted to do the words. So I'll see you in chapter 2. Hi guys, welcome back to chapter 2. This is where we're going to do the snowman, the little gift, the candy cane, and the holly. Now my holly is going to be done in a different color, because this green is the same color as this green that I used. So mine's going to be in a different color, but for now, you just need, we're going to do the snowman for the middle. So you just need white, red for the scarf, safety eyes, maybe a different color red for the nose, and black for the hat. Let's jump right into this. So the snowman is built with 3 separate balls, and then we are going to just kind of join them all together. So we are going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. We're still using a 4.5 hook. We're still doing amigurumi. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. That's number 1. where your marker goes, and number 2 goes into that same space all the way around. So you'll end up with 12 stitches when you're done. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase, bringing you up to 18 stitches. So that's number 1, and then we jump right into our increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 24 stitches. So that's number 1, that's number 2, and then the next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 30 stitches. That's number 1. That is 3 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 36 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. For the next 5 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what your 5 rows should look like. This is what you should have. So now we're going to start decreasing. We're going to start with a 4 single crochet decrease because we ended with a 4 single crochet increase. So the decrease will take you down to 30 stitches. That's number 1 with your marker. That's 4 single crochets and then my decrease. So mine are going to be in the front loops, because I want them to be invisible. I don't want to have big gaps or anything. So I'm going to go into the front loop. I'm not going to yarn over anything. I'm just going to pop around to the next front loop. Then I'll yarn over, pull through those 2, and finish the stitch. But you can do whatever decrease you want. If you just want to do a regular decrease, you can do that. This is my preference. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease, and this will take you down to 24 stitches. So that's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and then your decrease, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 18 stitches. That's number 1. That's 2, and then your decrease. So we can stuff this. So try not to overstuff it. Your final round is going to be 1 single crochets and a decrease, and then we're going to close it up. That's number 1. So then you jump right into your decrease. This brings you down to 12 stitches, and that's as far as we are going. So you can fasten off. So keep a little bit of a sewing tail for each one. Whatever tails we don't use, then we can always, you know, just do something with later. So before we cinch it, make sure that it's stuffed properly. We're going to go in the front loop and out the front loop of the next stitch. In and out using the 2 stitches. In one, out the other. And when you get all the way around, you can just simply pull it closed. So when I do my knot, so I go pop across the hole, I'm going to go through this loop. I pull back and forth on my knot just to tighten it, and then I do it in the other direction. You do not have to do this. These are just simply suggestions that I make on my channel. And that's your first ball. So all your balls just get smaller and smaller as we go. So they're all exactly the same. They just get smaller. So you're going to make a magic ring. Of 6 single crochets. So I'm going to kind of breeze through the next 2 balls because they're all exactly the same. I just stopped earlier. So this ball, for instance, this ball we went to 4 single crochet decrease. This ball we're only going to 3 single crochet, or increase, sorry, when I was building an increase. I went to 4 single crochet increase. This ball is going to be 3 single crochet increase, and then I'm going to stop increasing, and then the head, the small head, is going to be stopped at 2 single crochet increase. So they're all exactly the same. I just stopped earlier. So 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. One single crochet and an increase. Repeat that for 18 stitches. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 24 stitches. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this is as far as we're going. So you should have 30 stitches for the next 4 rows. You're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 30 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So that's my 4 rows. That's what you should have. My next round is going to be my decrease start round. So I'm going to do 3 single crochet decrease. That's number 1. Still doing my invisible. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. So you can stuff this guy a little bit. So your last row is 1 single crochet and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 12 stitches. And then we can fasten off and cinch just like our last one. So fasten off with a sewing tail. Finish stuffing this little guy. So that's ball number 2. Ball number 3 is a magic ring. of 6 single crochets. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around, giving you 12 stitches, just like the other ones. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. And that's as far as we're going. So bring you up to 24 stitches. So for the next 4 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches, and then we're going to put the eyes in, and then we're going to finish it. So I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. We're going to put our eyes in. This is our head, so we're going to put our eyes in. Make sure this is at the back. Just to make it a habit for, you know, other projects. So these are going to be tiny little eyes. I used these little 6mm. I think that's the size they are. I get in there. They are super duper tiny. That's what I used for my eyes. You can use whatever your little heart desires, but I put them between the 4th and 5th row, counting from the top and not the magic ring. So 4 and 5. Oops, I gotta do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So find a hole in between the 4th and 5th row. Oh, there it is. And I did about 3 visible stitches in between. 1, 2, 3. As long as they're visible, then they're good. Put my backs on. So that's my eyes. That's about it. I sewed the mouth on and the nose, so. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. So, you can stuff this little guy. So your last round is 1 single crochet and a decrease, and this brings you down to 12 stitches. So you can fasten off. with a sewing tail. Finish stuffing them, which shouldn't be that much. A little bit just on the top for your cinch. So we're going to sew the face on before we sew it together. This is going to sound stupid, probably, but I am using this tomato red for my scarf. So I am going to use a little bit of this darker red for his nose. And this is called Cardinal Red from Red Heart. Like if I ever can find the center. Oh, there it is. So you don't need much. You certainly don't need as much as I just pulled out, but shove all that back down in there. So that's the color green I'm going to be using for my holly because I used the darker green for the wreath. Anyway, take your red. And as far as this nose goes, I just kind of went back and forth and back and forth. It doesn't matter where you come in, it just matters where you pop out. So we need to put a little mouth here, so pop out in a good spot. So this was supposed to look like Frosty, and I think I didn't do too bad of a job. So you're just gonna kind of try to make it round. So it's supposed to be round. You get the idea. Anyway, you can just pop out somewhere when you're done. Told you I had way too much. So then just a little bit of black for the mouth. I just did a little smile. Again, it doesn't matter where you come in, it just matters where you come out. So I just came out wherever I wanted my smile to start. And then just try to go back in the same space. So one of two things can happen here. It's completely up to you. Pull mine out a bit, and I am going to put a dab of glue to hold his mouth in place. So I just take a little bit of glue, and I just put a little dollop. And because it's see-through glue, nobody will see that. To make my little face. And then I'm going to pin it in place because it won't stay. And that's my little guy. So we can start putting his body together. So this will get sewn to the bottom of your wreath. But I did the whole body first. So this guy here, I go down through the top of the magic ring and out the bottom. And then I tie these together tightly so that they don't go anywhere. And they're snug, so they're not going to be wobbling around on your wreath or anything. So make sure that you're getting it nice and snug. Do a couple. Don't worry about the ties right now. We'll do that later. And the head is the same deal. So we take a little head and you can go down all the way, pop out the bottom, and then it's the same process. Tie it to something. Make sure it's snug. So I'm sure you can get rid of one of these. The other ones, I would keep the two because we can kind of tie it to the wreath as opposed to trying to sew it. It'd just be a lot easier. So this guy can just come down in here and pop out, or you can cut him off where he is. Nobody's gonna see it, so it doesn't really matter. So there's my little snowman. So now we just gotta go and do the hat. So you're gonna need some black for the hat. And we're gonna start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. Next round after that, it's going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. That's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch gets an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Your next round is going to be done in the back loops only. So we're done the top of the hat, and we're going to be going to do the sides of the hat. So back loops only. Should have 18 stitches. So this is the top, and then this is now going to be the side of the hat. For the next 3 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in the full stitch in each of these 18 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. I know it's hard to see, but flat on top with the sides. And we're going to start the brim of the hat. So we're going to be working in the front loops. And you're going to do 1 single crochet increase in the front loops only. That's 1 single crochet. And then your increase in the front loop only is 2 single crochets in the same space. Repeat. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, of course now in the full stitch, and that'll be the end of our little hat. That's number 1, that's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So my card filled up, but anyway, that's the end of the little hat that I did. So we can fasten off with a sewing tail. I can make mine fairly long because I'm going to use some of this sewing tail to actually make a loop at the top to hang it a little, so it's supposed to be a little bit flatter on top. I have put a little snowflake on there because I thought it was super duper cute. But you can get these buttons. I'll put it up on my screen. I got these from Amazon. They were dirt cheap. These are just little wooden buttons. And you get snowflakes and stockings and little hearts and little whatever these are, flowers or something. And then these little buttons with the snowman and stuff on him. So I don't know which one I'm going to do. Maybe a stocking. First I'm going to sew the hat on. I'm going to put the hat on. So let's put the hat on here. Get my stuff out of the way. I'm going to take this pin out. So you can make the decision whether you want to stuff this top part of the hat, but I don't think it's really that imperative. Anyway, you just kind of got to weave along here to get to where you need to sew. Now I just tacked it on. I didn't seriously get overly involved. I don't know what's with this great big knot that I all of a sudden have right here, but we're gonna make that at the back of that. Anyway, I'm up under here where I kind of gotta start sewing, and like I said, I just kind of tacked it on around the head. So I just tacked them in a few spots. So this is where we can attach. So from here, I went up the middle of that magic ring I made to start this hat. Uh-oh. And then, this is hard to do, wherever you want him. So I just made sure that my Merry Christmas, I'm going to zoom out just a bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I just made sure that my Merry Christmas was in the right spot. And then I went right up into the wreath. I know it's really hard to see what I'm doing. So I went right up into the wreath. And I just kind of, I'm going back up the same hole I just came out. I'm just trying to move the yarn at this point. Find where your middle is, because that's where you're going to make the little hanger. No, I'm going to make the hanger out of here. So at this point, you just have to really understand how long of a hanger that you need. And then I wrap my yarn around here a couple of times. Just trying to make a knot. My fat fingers are not working out for me today. And then just pull. So he is kind of tacked in place, and he'll stay there. When you hang it, he's gonna stay in place. Mine's a little loose. And then this guy you can just weave. So you can tie this any way you want. And then I just took him and I just kind of weaved him. Back down and around. And then this part, you just about do the same thing. Sort of, kind of, but you don't. So figure out where you want him. It's not quite where I want it. So I'm just moving my yarn. I'm not sewing or just moving the yarn around. Trying to find a good spot to tie it together. Please don't go down the same hole. Go down separate holes. Make sure you're pulling because you want this to be nice and tight. That's my heat. Comes on pretty loud. Anyway, I think I'm going to meet up. So with your two pieces, meet up in the same spot. So I went two different ways. This is where you're going to pull tight. So once you've met up in the same hole, you're going to do what we always do. Just make sure you're pulling really tight. I'm going to make probably 3 knots. Super duper tight. I'm going to cut this off, leaving a little bit of nubbies, and I'm going to just kind of poke it in there so that no one's going to see it. It's hard to poke it down the same hole when you're not sure what hole you came up. Anyway, poke it in somehow so it's not visible. And then that's how I kept this guy. And like I said, when it's hanging, it's going to kind of be pulling up on this hat, so he's not going to be moving around a whole lot. So that's now when I kind of glue on my stocking and I set him aside. But you don't need to, you can do whatever you, like, you don't need to glue anything on his hat unless you want to. I just thought it was a cute idea. You know, it is a Christmas thing. And because they're buttons, you can actually put a pin through it. Hold it in place until it dries because they're buttons. Anyway, so we'll do the package and the candy cane next. Oh yeah, I forgot about the scarf. So I just took some red. So I just took some red for the scarf. Oh, get that out of the way. Made a slip knot. And I chained 30. Easy peasy. So before we tie it, I unraveled my yarn to be the ends of my scarf. So once you got your ends all done, you can tie it around for the scarf, and then just cut your, I wouldn't cut all of them off, but make them a little shorter because, you know, scarves don't have that long stuff on them. And that's all I did for the little scarf. So this gift package, I got some of this blue. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough. And I took a 4mm hook. So we're changing our hook size for this one. So I chained 5 and did 4 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. Do 4 single crochets for the next 2 rows. So this had to be super duper small because there's not a whole lot of room on this wreath to be putting stuff, so I had to make this stuff super duper small. Chain 1, turn your work, and in the back loops only. So built flat, our back loops are here. So I usually just hold it sideways. You're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these back loops. Chain 1, turn your work. for the next 3 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch. And then again, back loops for 4 stitches. And 4 single crochets for the next 3 rows. And we're going to do back loops only again. And then for the next 2 rows, 1 single crochet in each of these 4 stitches. So I just ran out of yarn, but I got more. I just wanted to use up that small little piece. So pretend I'm still attached. We're going to slip stitch the 2 ends together. So pretend I'm still in here doing my thing. I'll just stick that inside. I'll just stick that inside. So you're going to, here where we did our back loops, that's where you're going to fold your box. Get out of that. So each back loop that we did, that's where the fold happens. Let's get rid of this guy first though, before we fold this box up. And then we just have to make the 2 ends for the box. So after you fold it to become a box, you're just going to slip stitch these 2 ends together. Fasten off. So it does turn into a little box. So the only thing we have to make is the top and the bottom and stuff it. So this little straggler guy, you can either use him to sew on your other pieces, or you can just kind of tuck him away. And I know this is the outside of my present, but no one's gonna see it. I'm being very polite. And I might be taking some white and putting some little polka dots on there, so it's not gonna be noticeable, but there's your little square. So to make the other 2 pieces, they're gonna be the same. So I'm going to chain 4 and do 3 single crochets. We're still using our 4mm. chain 1, turn your work, and for the next 3 rows you're just going to do 3 stitches each row. And you can fasten off. So with a little sewing tail, so that's one side that you can sew on. So I use both the straggler and my sewing tail. So I'm going to use the straggler because it's on a corner, and I'm going to find a corner, and I'm just going to pull it through just because I want I kind of want to tack this down so I don't lose my place. So you can turn this inside out if you want to do it, but it's so small I didn't bother doing it with mine. So make your knot. This one you can just kind of weave and get rid of it. The other one you can weave and get rid of it. But when we sew this other piece on, you're going to need to use it to sew to the wreath. So it's going to need to be bigger. So this gets a tiny wee bit of stuffing, just so it doesn't collapse on itself. So really try to pack that down. Just because you want to keep the shape. So I want to keep the square shape going on. And if you want this to be hard, you can kind of dabble some watered down glue in here. And that'll harden right up and be good. I'm not going to because I don't think it's necessary. Anyway, let's make our second piece. So I got a really long sewing tail because I have to sew it to the wreath. Alrighty. So I'm going to use this long tail to sew it to the wreath. But first we need to decorate it. So let's hide this guy away. So I'm going to take a little bit of white. Or whatever color you want to use. And I am just going to make some little polka dots on here, just to make it a polka dot present. This part's going to be what's sewed down, so this will be the top of my present. So that's just some few polka dots. Use some of this ribbon. It says Merry Christmas on it. I'm going to use this, or I'm going to put this up on my thing so you can see where I got most of my stuff from Amazon. So I'm just going to take a little bit of ribbon. So this is going to be the top of my package, now that it's all out of shape. So I'm going to tie my ribbon so that's my little gift. So I put it down here fairly close to the thing because I put my candy cane kind of here. So this is not the easiest thing to sew on for somebody who's not a sewer. Just want to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. There, my little package. So, I need red and white for this candy cane. So again, I'm using my 4mm. I'm going to start with white. You're going to chain 37, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way back up. That's my 37 chains. So I'm going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch back up, and then you're going to see it start doing a curly Q, and that's exactly what we want. And then when we get back up to the top, we're changing to red and doing the exact same thing. So this is what you should have. I'm on my last stitch. I'm going to change to red on my last stitch. That's my first one. So on this second stitch, I'm going to finish it with red. I'm going to chain 37. And in each stitch, I'm going to do 2 single crochets. So I am on my last stitch. Only gonna put one in there. And then I'm gonna fasten off going into this white stitch. So once you got it all sorted and cut off my sewing tail, and then you just stick one of these in the other one, wrap it around. So now you just need to sew it and shape it all at the same time. That's the difficult part. That was the most difficult part. So me with the glue, you know, that's what I do. I'm gonna put glue on in a candy cane shaped shape. It is not the easiest thing to sew down, which is why I use the glue. So I'm just going to cut it off there because I glued this last part down. So I'm just going to cut this off. Keep my pins in it so that it glues properly, so then I get a decent shape. And we'll move on to making the holly and berries, and then we're just going to be done this guy. So this is the holly and berry that I did on my other one, and it's that dark green ivy. It's Craft Smart ivy with the cardinal red berries. But my wreath that I'm doing for the video is the ivy color, the dark green. So I think I'm going to use this green, which is lush, and I'm going to use that for my leaves because it'll just get hidden. I mean, the holly I did for that is the same color, the ivy and the, well, this is tomato red, but it'll just kind of get lost. So I figure if I did the holly berry in this lush, it's a Craft Smart. I'm pretty sure it's a Craft Smart. If I do it in this lush color, then it won't be so lost. So this is just a regular 4-weight. It's kind of on the skinnier side of a 4-weight. Like, it's a light 4-weight. It's not a DK or anything, but it is a light 4-weight. So I changed my hook size to a 3.5. But if you're still using a if you're using, it all depends on what you're using. So this calls for a 4mm as it is, and because everything's done in amigurumi, which is just a tighter weave than most, I'm going down to 3.5. So this is worked in the round. So first we're going to make a slip knot, chain 5. So when I say it's worked in the round, I mean it's worked on this side, and then it's followed around and worked on this side. So both sides of the chain is worked in. That's what working in the round means. So in your first stitch, I want you to do 1 single crochet. I want you to chain 1, and then I want you to picot. So you go in and you pick up those 2 bars. You're going to yarn over, pull through, and slip stitch. That's a picot. And then you're going to put 1 single crochet all in that same space. In the next space, you're going to do a half double. You're going to chain 2. You're going to picot. And you're going to put a half double in that same space. In the next stitch, you're going to do a double. Chain 3. Picot. And a double crochet. In this last space, you're going to put 2 double crochets. Chain 2, picot, and 2 double crochets, all in the same stitch. So this is your slip knot. So this, see how it kind of curves around. So we're going to work in the round. So we're going to follow it, that curve. That's your slip knot. Right here is the stitch we need to get into. So make sure you're getting right into that stitch next to your slip knot. We're going to do the same thing we just did, but we're going to do it backwards. So we're going to do 1 double crochet, chain 3, picot, 1 double crochet. In this next stitch, we're going to do a half double, chain 2, picot, and a half double in that same space. In this last stitch, you're going to do a single crochet. Oops, I got stuck on my straggler back there. Single crochet, chain 1, picot, and a single crochet. And then this next stitch, you're just going to go in and fasten off with the sewing tail. And that's going to be your holly leaf. So I need you to make 2 more of those. I weaved this in, so I get to just cut it off. But if you didn't weave yours in, you'll have to sew it in now. So anyway, go ahead and make 2 more of those. I'll put my pattern on the screen, and I'll see you right back here. So, we just gotta sew these together. So I got a super long tail over here. I'm gonna use one of these to, well, I'm probably just kind of gonna tie it to the wreath. So we just sew these everywhere that we fastened off. That's the pieces that get sewn together. So one on top of the other. I go in and out a couple of times. So once you figure you've got that right, one of these can be for sewing. I'm just going to tie them all together at the back just so that they don't move around. Cut two off, keep one. Always leave these little nubbies because your knot will come undone. So, I sewed the holly berry on before I sewed the whole thing to the wreath, so the holly berries are so quick. They're done with the same hook. This yarn's a little bit thicker, so this is going to be tight, but you're going to start with a magic ring of 4 single crochets. You're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So I'm just going to count to 8. It is super duper small, but if you're not familiar with where your stitches are, use your marker because, I mean, you can't really screw up a little berry, but it can be hard to see where your stitches are, but you can do whatever you're comfortable with. So that's my 2 single crochets in each stitch. You should have 8 stitches, so I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 8 stitches. You can kind of pop it over if you want. That's my 8 stitches. I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to do 1 single crochet decrease 2 times. And then you should have 2 extra stitches. So 1 single crochet. It doesn't really matter what decrease you use here because we're not stacking anything. But just aesthetically, I want it to look decent. So that's another 1 single crochet and then a decrease, whichever one you want to use. That's 2 times. And then 2 single crochets. So this gives you just 6 stitches. We're going to fasten off. You can make the decision whether you want to stuff these or not. So I just cinched my top closed. Just a couple of stitches. Managed to get that last one in. So, because it gets all pulled out of shape, without stuffing, I can just squish it back down. So you're going to make 2 more of those, and you're going to do the 3 berries, and then we're going to sew them to the holly. Sorry, I forgot to turn my devices off. So then you're just going to sew it to the holly. So go ahead, I'll put my thing up on the screen. Go ahead and make your 2 more little berries, and then I'll meet you back here. Alright, so I get all my berries done. I've got 2 of them attached here. I'm just going to put the 3rd one in here. So because we didn't put any stuffing in them, you can, you know, do what you want. I'm just going to put some glue into the center because I kind of want them to stay like that. So what I did was tied these all together. Once you're done, just sew our holly to what's the only space that's left. You're not going to cover up words. Putting the words on here was requested, but it is kind of tricky. And there we have it. Our Merry Christmas wreath. Out a little bit so you can see it all. Awesome. You can still probably turn your words a little bit even after you've sewed. Thanks for joining me, guys. This was a request from a subscriber and a member of my YouTube channel and Facebook page. So there we have it. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.